All right, well that was neat. Heading off into the woods there, but some nice deer here. Ah, that's cool. Hello everybody, Papa Blue Shirt. I'm getting ready to go on my ride here. This will be my ride. I just passed 4,000 miles on this Forester, but it hasn't been all peaches and cream, so make sure you stay for the whole video because I want to talk to you about a few issues I've had, and let's see what is going on here. There you can see it, 4,100 miles. I wanted to do it when it turned over, but you know, weather, rain and stuff all the time, but here's what the bike looks like. I'm running a dual battery, and if you want to see how I hooked that up, I'll leave a link down below. This is where we're at, and let's get going so I don't get ate up by mosquitoes here. Early morning, the mosquitoes are kind of bad right here. All right. Well, we got rain last night. It rained really hard, and my wife and my daughter already went on their ride, and she texted me and said that the driveway was so bad they had to walk up the hill. So we'll see what we got to go through here. Yeah, it's kind of messy here. Yeah, we got a tree limb down here. Oh, let's see how bad it is. As you can see, I got my driveway marked. They're supposed to come and work on my drainage issues. I'm still waiting on them. It's been probably a couple months since we flooded, but there's been so much rain, you know, they can't keep up with doing their excavating because, you know, it's hard to excavate when it's raining all the time. Yeah, that's a little bad. I could see where the girls would want to walk up that, I guess. Other than that, it's not too bad. Right through here, it's a little bad, but ow. And you can see from the corn, I tried to put a picture of the corn the last time I went through here when I was recording. You know what? This is really washed out bad through here. You know, I don't like the rain, but I think the corn does because it's growing like gangbusters. Yeah, my lawnmower broke down the other day, so looks like I don't mow for 2 months now. I got it in the shop, but other than rain, boy, it looks like a nice morning today. Seems like it's going to be a nice still day for recording, so that'll be nice. Yeah, I don't know where the girls are. Well, I've definitely seen my driveway a lot worse than that, but probably have to fix it up a little bit today. There's the girls. They were supposed to wait for me so I could see how bad the driveway was, but I wanted to ride so bad evidently that they just went and rode. Anyway, so make sure you listen to this whole video. I'm going to try to talk about all the issues I've had. I really like this Forester e-bike when everything is going right. Oh, there's my puppy today. You going to chase me today? Anywho, just a little bit cool this morning. In certain areas anyway. You know how it is in the morning when you go through hot pockets and cold pockets? Oh, there I said it again, hot pockets. It's been a long time since I've ate a hot pocket. Of course, I don't think they make any plant-based hot pockets, so that might be why. That's one thing about the place where we live. Man, we get a lot of rain. You take a state like Arizona, you know, we get more rain in one storm than Arizona gets in a whole year. Of course, that's kind of comparing apples to oranges, I guess. Yeah, I went by a little snake yesterday, and I thought, oh, well, I wonder what kind that was as I was coming up to it, and then it opened its mouth really big, and you could see it was a cottonmouth. About 2 miles after that, I saw another one, so they're out there. But yeah, I said that I would talk about the issues I've had with this. Like I said, it's a really fun bike when things are going right, but there's a big old dead armadillo right here. I always hold my breath when I go behind a turkey vulture because you never know what they ate. Anyways, the first issue I had, I think it was at like 800 or 900 miles. I don't remember, but it was real early right after I got it. And started having some issues with the rear motor. So I contacted them, and they wanted me to send a video, so I sent them a video of it. It was a clutch issue. I'm not for sure though. Anyways, they sent me a whole new motor. So I put that on there and hey, I'm back in business. I'm riding high. It wasn't too hard. I mean, you just take out the screws and you just drop the other one in there. And so, you know, if you can take the rear wheel off, you can probably change the motor. These are budget e-bikes, you know, so I know that, you know, there's probably going to be some issues from time to time. Not that it really matters, because, I mean, you can buy a real expensive one and have issues too. But then I got up to about 1,800 miles, and my all-wheel drive started acting funny. It would engage once in a while it wouldn't, and then finally it stopped, you know, working altogether. I contacted them and they said they thought it was the controller, so they sent me a new controller. And it's not the easiest thing putting that controller in. Probably the main issue is running up that tube with that wire. But anyways, this bike is really fun, and it's extremely fun when the all-wheel drive. You know, I'd really like the all-wheel drive because you kick that in and boy, you can get out of the way of people. You know, you can blast up the hills and all that kind of stuff. And so I really love the all-wheel drive. So once again, we were back in business. Then I got at about 3,500 and the all-wheel drive started doing it again. So I thought, you know, man, am I gonna be having to change this thing every 1,800 miles? So they're sending me another one. Hopefully they've made some changes to it. One thing I did notice on this one here, they use a combined controller, and it seems awfully small to be handling, you know, both of them. With the all-wheel drive, they each have their own controller for the front and for the rear. So I don't know, maybe they're trying something new. Hopefully they'll either go back to a dual setup, or they'll get one that's a lot more robust. So, you know, this bike is faster than the H8 even without the all-wheel drive, and it's faster than the Jumbo. You know, it's kind of like having nitro in your car. You know, once you taste it, you don't want to live without it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I would probably be at 6,500 miles, you know, if those issues didn't happen. But that's kind of the drawback of getting a first model, you know. It takes them a while to get the issues all worked out on a new model. So don't go nowhere. I'll let you know if I've had any other problems here in a little bit. But here's my little bridge here. They actually use this as a target range. Often I come through here and there'll be a car parked on the bridge, you know, with a rifle set up or a handgun set up. I make it a point to say, hey, how y'all doing today? Don't want to make no one mad. Yeah, for the most part, you know, people aren't responsible. There was one over here on a bridge where there was a guy with a couple of boys, and it was probably daddy out there showing the boys how to shoot, you know. And if you live in the city, you know, there's really no place to shoot, you know, unless you go to a range. But in our area, we're kind of old school, I guess. One of the best targets is an old washing machine that you threw out back in 1982. Or that old jalopy, that old Mazda GLC, or that old Buick Opal that's been sitting underneath the tree for 30 years or 40 years. Yeah, when you look back at the year 2000 and you think it was just the other day, you know, you might be getting old. I can remember in high school sitting there and counting all the years it would be before it would be the year 2000, and how I was going to be an old man. I was going to be an old man by the time the year 2000 come around. Here we are 25 years later. It's somehow as you get older, your idea of an old man is ever changing, you know. You know, back when you're in your 20s, you know, a guy that's 45, I mean, he's an old man. Then when you're 80, you know, you look and say, you know, well, he was 95, he was an old man. It's all about perspective. Well, considering all the rain we had last night, pretty nice today. There's a house right here. This one right here. It's a beautiful house on the inside. And back when we were fixing to move, we almost bought that one. A couple of drawbacks, it's too close to the road. But the biggest drawback was right up here, right to the right there. I looked in the picture and I saw a red barn, And that reminds me of a movie. But there was a puppet that said Red Barn. If you know who it was, put your answer down below. Anyways, the house had beautiful, beautiful woodwork, oak woodwork, and I mean the house is just gorgeous on the inside, but I seen that red barn in the background and I said, okay, what is that? And then I remembered where it was. I said, nope, not gonna happen. I'm not gonna live within eyesight of a chicken barn. You know, the house is actually a little west of the barn, but so most of the time the wind will be blowing away, but you got those weird times where the wind blows the other way and you'd be smelling that. Oh man, that stuff's gross. Yeah, we looked and we packed things up, and I mean, we were moving, and we looked around for, I don't know, probably for a month or two. Came to the conclusion that there's no place like home, so we decided to do a little work on the house, and maybe we can solve our issues that way. And you know, we thought, you know, it's not fair to someone else to leave them with the problem. You know, I wouldn't feel good about that. You know, for most of the time it'd be okay, but there's those few times where it rains and rains and rains and rains and you'd have issues. So hopefully we have a plan. We have a plan, e pluribus unum. Yep, I know my son will know where that's from if he watches this. E pluribus unum, we have a plan. If you remember, there was an old Star Trek that Jean-Luc Picard ended up on a planet with a guy, and he talked in phrases like that. And on the outside, no one would know what he's talking about, and so it was kind of confusing. But after a while, they figured out that he was talking in phrases, kind of what we did with our kids as they were growing up. Other people look at us and they say, what is he talking about? And then there's sayings that I don't even know where they come from. My son was down, him and his wife, you know, they'd always go, dur, dur, dur. I have no idea where that's from, but it kind of stuck. So it kind of stuck, so now we say that. Dur, dur, dur. I'm sure a lot of you listening would probably know where it's from. Hopefully I didn't embarrass you, son. It's a house back in the woods here. I went by that for about a year before I knew it was even there. We're gonna go through our little woods over here. I like this riding this area. There's usually no traffic at all. Ow! Man, that didn't sound good. Yeah, this is our bottoms here. This actually floods all the way over the road here. And the water went down enough over here so they could plant. So they just planted over here the other day. People up in the Midwest, you know, your planting season is almost over, I would assume, but yeah, the water goes all the way over the road here sometimes when we have really, really long, you know, rainy season. There's not too many houses back here. Well, I'll pump this up to number 5. I've been riding on number 4 for the whole trip so far. Get a little speed going up these hills since I don't have all-wheel drive. You know, when I first got the bike, how I had it set up, there was a little tendency to wobble. And I thought, wow, this ain't good. But when I put my riser on here, it really helped things out for some reason. I don't know why. And then when I put my extra battery, it made it really stable. Yeah, this intersection up here will always be my crescent wrench intersection. I come through here and I found a nice brand new crescent wrench. I thought, wow, today's my lucky day. Look at there, really nice wrench. So I put it in my drink holder. I had one of those insulated drink holders, and I got home and it was gone. So somebody else probably has an intersection that they call crescent wrench intersection, where they found my crescent wrench that I had all for a couple hours. But I found a few screwdrivers, some scrapers, you know, a few odds and ends here and there. But You know, with that controller issue, I think, you know, they're either going to need to, like I said, get a beefier one or separate them out. Oh, I'm sure glad they fixed that. Haha. Had a culvert back there that washed out, and it was gravel for a long time, and then they fixed it. I think the blacktop is more rough than the gravel was, because for some reason they don't cut into the road, you know, where they put the new one on. They just pile it on top, so they leave a bump there. Ain't that big a deal in a car, but you know, at a bike it kind of jostles you around a little bit. I've been averaging real close to 50 miles a day. I'm trying not to get too crazy this year. You know, last year with my jumbo, had all those problems with my back, and I got way behind on my miles, and so I kind of went crazy. Started riding in the morning and in the afternoon. You know, my wife told me it was too hot to ride in the afternoon. I need to switch to the morning. So you know what they say, happy wife, happy life. So I said, okay. The only problem, I was so used to going out in the afternoon, I just kept doing it. So I was riding 100, 130, 150 miles a day. So I racked up some miles on my jumbo. It's almost at 19,000 right here. It'd be really nice to have that all-wheel drive. But it don't work, the light comes on. But yeah, my tree limb at the house, that actually fell before the storm. It has those a sweet gum tree or something like that. And they bloomed so much this year that I got so many on them that they got so heavy that all the branches are breaking off the tree, which, you know, I guess is probably a good thing, because then I don't have to have those things all over the ground. Anyways, anybody who would plant one of those on purpose over a driveway or something, I would just look at them and say, why? If you don't know what they're like a little spiny pine cone that's round, and it's about the size of probably about the size of a plum or a walnut. Yeah, thinking about my daughter-in-law and my son and my two grandsons going through a hard time about now, and just let you know that old Papa is thinking about you. Old Papa's praying for you. I get so emotional in my old age. I know my wife always laughs when I say that. Always been, you know, pretty emotional. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing sometimes, you know. I'll be watching a movie with the family, and it gets to a certain part, and they all turn to me and see if I'm crying or not. Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that I could go into any funeral and just bawl, and they'd say, oh, he loved him so, and you know, I wouldn't even have known him. I'm not too proud to get emotional. But I like riding this road. This is a nice and hilly road. Really fun when the all-wheel drive is working. Not today. I think I may have put more miles on this without all-wheel drive than I have with it. So we'll see if we get to 10,000 miles this year. I kind of had this thing with my wife. If I put 10,000 miles on a bike, I can get a new one. And my jumbo, I went almost 20,000, so I think she owes me one anyway. Well, Bitcoin just passed 118,000. I think it's neat every once in a while to say what the price is, and then a couple of years later, I come back and watch this video and say, wow, I should have sold then, or man, I should have bought more. It could be either one, who knows? Right, well, there's where we ended up. 49 miles. Total of 41.56. My fastest was 47.7 miles an hour. Huh. Must have been that big hill I went down. I wonder what I averaged. I didn't ride very fast today. 30.5. Yeah, I rode in the 4 for a good portion of the ride. But there's the bike. Other than the issues I discussed, things are going good. I did add a big chain ring on there. And new freewheel. And of course my Ultraverse tires. You can see them there. Oh, those cicadas are loud. But yeah. So hopefully those few issues will get worked out and I'll be able to get up to 10,000. That's my goal this year, I guess. Let's see if I go any further or not. Let's see if the bike, makes it that far. I don't know. We'll see. Well, it's Papa Blue Shirt. Thanks for riding with me today. And hopefully these issues will get worked out and we'll have a really nice bike here. Because I do like the bike. I do like the bike. It's nice and fast. And but, when you have all-wheel drive and you can't use it, that's a pain, Alrighty. Well, this is Papa Blue Shirt. Goodbye. Good luck. And may the good Lord take a liking to you.
Goodbye, good luck. And may the good Lord take a liking to you, liking to you, liking to you, liking to you, liking to you.